My outfit is phenomenal, and shots are already fired, but that's okay. At least I'm in the right season. Christopher Mad Dog Russo digs already on a Wednesday.
Good morning.
It's that kind of day?
It's that kind of. Hello, Monica. How are you?
Good morning.
Did you guys see Brian Windhorst on television yesterday?
I did not. I missed it.
Oh, you missed Windy? Just Google that, okay? Just Google Windy, air quotes, Perk, Jason Tatum, and you won't be mad. All right, guys, we got a lot to get into, and we're starting in the NBA. Going to be a fun show here today. The Nuggets fired head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth just days before the end of the regular season. The decision to fire the coach and eventually part ways with the GM, who won a championship in 2020.
Out the history of the Kroenke family. Stan Kroenke is the owner, and Josh Kroenke is the governor. This is a group that owns a number of humongous sports clubs across the world. The Los Angeles Rams, the Colorado Avalanche, the Nuggets, the Arsenal, the soccer club in England. All of those teams, the Kroenkes have shown very little interest in changing the head coaches. I think since he bought the Rams in 2010, I think he's fired the coach once, maybe twice. I think that he's changed coaches twice. With the Arsenal, he's only fired one coach since he bought the team in 2007. I don't think he's changed coaches with the Avalanche in a decade. Michael Malone was the fourth longest tenure. All of those teams, the Kroenkes have shown very little interest in changing the head coaches. I think since he bought the Rams in 2010, I think he's fired the coach once, maybe twice. I think that he's changed coaches twice. With the Arsenal, he's only fired one coach since he bought the team in 2007. I don't think he's changed coaches with the Avalanche in a decade. Michael Malone was the fourth longest tenured head coach. This is not an ownership that fires coaches. That's not what they do. They show extraordinary patience with coaches. So for them to do and actually make a coaching change at one of their prime properties, and I also want to point out, they've won championships with all four of those teams in the last decade. This is a stewardship that values coaching and values stability. And to still do that with 3 games left in the season is very unusual, and you could argue downright disrespectful to the winningest coach in franchise history who led you to a championship. They are certainly aware of that, and yet they
and he won a title 2 years ago. That's a little rough. I mean, I understand they had a 4-game losing streak, but, you know, they didn't play 5 of their starters in one of the games against San Antonio. Murray's been out. I mean, there are some explanations there. You know, Kroenke is not a sports guy. His father owns everything. He's not a sports guy. Good point by Wendy. As far as the other franchises they own, they have been very stable, and they've won. The Rams won at Super Bowl. The Nuggets have won. The Avalanche have won. So from that standpoint, they have been good stewards of the teams that they own. But you can't tell me that firing, and forget the GM. You can't tell me, because right now it's about the coach. You can't tell me that firing a coach with 3 games to go in the regular season, when they won a title 2 years ago, they are in the playoffs. It's not like they're not they're in the play-in. They're in the playoffs, we think. That you can't tell me that's a solid move. And I'll say one other thing. If anybody thinks, and I'm not putting any blame on them, but if anybody thinks that they didn't go to Joker, just like the Grizzlies with Morant, I'm not saying that
he co-signed on it.
Well, he didn't fight to keep Malone, because you can't pay a guy the money that they're paying Joker and not at least tell him prior, by the way, we're going to fire Malone. You okay with that? And if Joker wasn't okay with that, if he wanted to, he says, what are you, crazy? We can't fire him. I love the guy.
Yeah.
So that, from that standpoint, I'm not saying he had anything to do with it, but he didn't go out there and save Malone either from that standpoint.
You think it's a mistake, Monica?
I'm not going to lie. The news comes down yesterday. We are taping 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony, and literally my jaw drops because it is unusual for sure. But then we started discussing it. You get still, you give yourself a minute. I have been a part of at least 2 press conferences this season, and I've heard it more than once, not in press conferences that I haven't been present.
So that, from that standpoint, I'm not saying he had anything to do with it, but he didn't go out there and say Malone either, from that standpoint.
You think it's a mistake, Monica?
I'm not gonna lie, when the news comes down yesterday, we are taping 7 p.m. in Brooklyn with Carmelo Anthony, and literally my jaw drops because it is unusual for sure. But then we started discussing it, you get still, you give yourself a minute. I have been a part of at least 2 press conferences this season, and I've heard it more than once, not in press conferences that I haven't been present in. It almost became thematic this year when the Nuggets had these head-scratching sort of losses. You would hear Michael Malone say, we've got to raise our compete level. He's made comments about this team's effort. Now, granted, I'm not saying teams don't have off nights, but I think that has reared its head enough this season for a team that has an MVP caliber centerpiece and still has its championship core, that to me,
successful executives. They have let big-time star executives from Tim Connelly to Masai Ujiri, even back before Kiki Vandeweghe, Mark Orkentine, they've routinely let executives leave. That's a different factor. And yes, Calvin Booth and Michael Malone quarreled about who should play, young players versus old players. Michael Malone has quarreled with his executives for a decade for that. Michael Malone has been, wearing on players and yelling at them in rage timeouts for a decade. That's who he is. So maybe it got to a saturation point, but I did not see anything this year that was any different than how he's always operated. So there must have been a real reason. And the big thing is going forward, replacing these jobs with Nikola Jokic and making sure you take care of his prime. That's the challenge.
100%. I want to dive in deeper into this because this feels like this is becoming a theme or a pattern with these coaches. So Michael Malone became just the 4th in NBA history to be fired mid-season after winning 40 or more games. With the firing, 4 of the last 6 coaches to win the NBA Finals are no longer with the team they won with. Mad Dog, that's pretty astounding when you think about it. Are teams too quick to move on from coaches who just won a title?
It's a very difficult job because the star is going to be the guy who runs the team. And Atkinson got fired with the Nets, shaky. I mean, Jenkins, what did he do wrong with Memphis? That team's been pretty good for a long period of time. They've been consistent. They've never underachieved, and he gets dumped. And Morant's tricky to coach. He's in and out of trouble a lot. He misses games, got suspended. That's tricky. Now you throw this in there. Ham goes to the conference final a couple years ago, gets swept by Denver, goes to a conference final. The next year he loses to Denver again, close series, and he gets fired. I have no problem. JJ, great for him. But, listen, JJ loses a first-round series. He's going to be in a little trouble, too. I mean, these coaches here, look at Vogel. I mean, Budenholzer, his brother died in a car wreck during that Miami series 2 years ago, and they fired him.
Yeah, that's horrific.
I mean, how about Giannis sitting there and he didn't even play in that series against Miami? He missed all those games. They got fired in 5 games, and then they fired, but that wasn't the right thing to do. So these jobs are very difficult. You have to be in partnership. The difference with college and the NBA, in the NBA, you got to be in partnership with your star player. You have to be, that's what Phil was so good. He was in partnership with Jordan. He was in partnership with Kobe. Riley in partnership with Magic, in partnership with Ewing. You need to be in partnership with your star where you're both aligned and you think the same and it's like your best friend because it's a 50-50 thing. And if you lose that, you're in big trouble.
You're 100%